Come on, mom, 22 grand. I stay dripping on fam. You losing my mind. You come in my mind. You don't like what you'll find. You getting real. I used to spark your seal. That's how I know you feel. I flood your wrist. That's Richard Mill. Ducking the ops. That's Navy SEALs. And we're back with another episode of Behind the Artist, where we talk about an independent artist and get their views beyond music. Today we've got Low G, a man with many talents, producer, beat maker, drummer, and many more things. How you doing today, man?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So yeah, Neil is he's a really close friend of mine. He's been in music since he was a child, so it's good to have him on the show. Good to have him on the pod.
Yeah, dude, it's good to be here. I watched the first one.
Yeah, it was a good one with
Yeah,
Alec. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So let's just get into you. Like tell us your musical journey. Start us young.
So it started when I was about 6 years old. I remember we had Grandparents' Day at Norfolk Academy, and I was standing there like singing with everyone because I mean, you probably knew about it. You knew of it.
Yeah.
That like we'd have all sixth grades of the lower school perform. There'd be like a theme, and then we perform for our grandparents right before Thanksgiving break, and there'd usually be a band to perform too. So we wouldn't use any tracks. It would just be like a band playing all the songs. And I remember I saw the drummer, and like I literally just could not stop watching him. And it was like a patriotic theme too. So it was like a Yankee Doodle. But I watched him like play, and I literally could not stop watching him. And I think what had happened was I came home and I told my dad, and I was like, I need to do that. So like, and obviously in 2006, I mean, there was no thousands of free YouTube tutorials or TikTok videos and none of that.
Yeah.
Like my dad had to whip out a yellow book and find a drum teacher in Virginia Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And so he finally found one. We had to go there and meet him first. And then the week after, I finally had my first lesson. And I still remember knocking on his door, and he opened the door, and the first thing he said to me was, "I hope you know how to count to 4." Kind of like a joke. But then
Yeah.
I realized like how significant that was in the world of music, just knowing 4, 8, 16, 32, and 12, obviously like triplets. And we'll probably get into that later.
Yeah.
But how much of an impact that has right now. But yeah, that's when I finally started learning drums. It was around March 2007. And then when I was in second grade, my parents told me that I should think about learning how to play the guitar too. So I got signed up with the Norfolk Academy music teacher, guitar teacher, Mr. Oberhofer Jr. And I just started learning really, really basic stuff. And then by third grade, Grandparents' Day came around again, obviously, because it was an annual thing, and it was Beatles themed. And I remember that was probably the time where I really, really liked like a lot of the music that they played. Obviously, they're super old, so we kind of just dug up all those tracks.
Yeah.
But I went back and listened to them, and then even for Grandparents' Day we sang and all that stuff. But I started to play a lot of Beatles songs on the drums, and I told my drum teacher about it. And Mr. Oberhofer Jr., the guitarist, was a huge Beatles fan too, so he got me into it. And then I kind of had these two instruments that I was learning with this sound that I really liked, and it was pretty easy. Obviously, Ringo Starr was not a very, I mean, he's of course super talented, accomplished guy, but he was not doing a lot of crazy stuff on Beatles songs.
Yeah.
And neither were they with guitar. So I was learning both of those, and it started to get a lot easier for me to learn. And then I just kind of got addicted to it. So then later, a couple years later, that's when I started doing School of Rock, which was the summer camp at Norfolk Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me really conditioned towards performance and entertainment, the performance entertainment side of it.
Yeah.
Because Steve Archer, the director of it, he's a phenomenal, insanely talented guy. He really had just a knack for getting like really young kids excited about music and about performance. Yeah. So I did that for a couple more years. And then middle school was definitely when I started, it faded a little bit. Like I was doing it a lot over the summer, and I was doing jazz bands, so I had something consistent, but that love wasn't quite as like heavy as it was when I was like really, really little.
Mm-hmm.
But then I remember around 10th grade, I was like listening. I would always just listen to Pandora because I got so tired of listening like playlist that I had made,
Yeah.
I would just listen to Pandora and start scrolling through. And so um, I listened to like this one guitar playlist, and it was a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers and John Mayer.
Of
And
course.
so
Yeah.
both of them got me right back into playing guitar and like continuing to learn guitar more and more. And so that's when I think I really kind of started to gravitate more towards guitar, because I was already, doing jazz band at school. So I was playing the drums there, but then guitar was just kind of sitting in my room. I was never doing it. And then them, John Mayer and Red Hot Chili Peppers, once I started listening to them and I was playing a lot of what they do, that's definitely what got me back into learning guitar, and just like that addiction was there again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's probably the best way to describe just kind of my overall love for learning how to become proficient at instruments. But then junior year, and I know you remember this,
Mm-hmm.
around January, February, I think you were over at my house, a couple other guys,
Yeah.
and we just wanted to like try and fool around with GarageBand on my laptop.
Yeah. I
And
remember.
then,
Yeah.
yeah, and then I started to try and use all the virtual sounds, and I was like, ooh, this is really cool. And
Mm-hmm.
so then obviously for our Credo project, we decided to do those three, the Credo, the art
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, Credo for all those listening is just a project to express yourself in a way that is creative. I for mine I did the music with Neil. I had a poem and a story that I wrote. Everyone had a different one. It was just a very interesting project, and like one of the most in like I would say probably is my favorite project when I was in NA at Norfolk Academy.
Oh yeah, for
It was
sure.
just
Yeah.
it was just so easy to express yourself. But yeah, continue on. You're on the Credo.
Yeah. So, I mean, we started meeting up a couple weekends, and then I had my laptop, which had, GarageBand. We made those songs with GarageBand, just a
Yeah.
condenser mic, and then
Mm-hmm.
really poor mixing, but it was
Awful.
still, it was so fun to see like those three finished projects and how satisfying that was. So then after that, it was just a lot more producing, and I finally started to combine like just everything I had learned since I was 6 into my own creative work,
Yeah.
using obviously
Yeah.
inspiration from all these other places that we have.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I mean, and that's kind of where we're at now. I mean, freshman year, obviously in college, I didn't do it that much at all. Sophomore year, not really. But then it was kind of second semester, sophomore year, obviously right before the pandemic, where I was like, I really need to get back into this because it's like what makes me super, super happy. And so then when we went home for the summer, obviously we went to jam for a little, and then we started
Mm-hmm.
jamming again, and we started laying more and more stuff down, and we were just flowing, getting creative. And then that's obviously, how we started um, the album that we released in August. So
Yeah, yeah, no
that's where we're
clue.
at now. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to touch too much on it because we definitely touched a lot about no clue with Alec, but yeah, that process was just ridiculous. It was just crazy. We got together and we
yeah,
just I don't even know what happened. I don't know if I could ever. I don't know if we could ever recreate that energy again.
yeah,
Because I mean, it was crazy. I mean, we're obviously better now, but like we take our time with things. That
yeah,
took a whole 5 weeks,
yeah.
like literally a whole 5 weeks to
Mhm.
put out,
And
produce,
honestly,
mix, all that.
the bulk of it was probably like the last 10 days.
It really was. It
August 4th to the
really,
14th.
really
Yeah, yeah,
was. It really,
yeah.
really was. But yeah, so you already, I mean, yeah, you gave out some inspirations like Beatles, John Mayer, Red Hot Chili Peppers, all great musicians. Is there anyone specific that you left out or anything like that that you want to mention?
Well, obviously that whole kind of path that I went on, that's like literally just the whole non-hip hop
Yeah,
side of the
yeah,
story. Like we can go on and on about how much I used to hear a lot of other stuff like way back in the day, like
yeah.
in 2011 and 2010, 2009, when like DJ Khaled and Drake
Mhm,
were like coming up, and
mhm.
like Lil Wayne, all those guys,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
how
for
much
sure.
hip hop and rap has changed, and
Yeah,
also kind of how that like shift and how much good hip hop there was in 2016, 2017 is honestly what made me really motivated to do like music production.
yeah. So
Yeah.
a lot of that kept you going in music.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that hearing things that are interesting to your ear makes you want to really get creative.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the same for me. Like I hear different songs like just I mean today I heard a song by the Surfaces that just made me want to go make a song. And the
Yeah.
Surfaces, I mean they're a little known band, but like they have like a couple hits, but
They
like
have a
it
couple
was like
big hits, yeah.
yeah, they got big hits, but like it was just so interesting how I just heard like different ad libs or something that somebody
Yeah.
could say, and I'm just like, I need to play around with that, like play
Yeah,
around with
exactly.
something like
It
that.
gets you
Yeah,
inspired, it gets you motivated like immediately. And I think
yeah,
Metro Boomin, obviously, 10th
yeah,
grade, like middle 10th grade, 11th grade for us, that was like when he started to come up like really, really
mm-hmm.
hard. And I
Yeah,
loved that like dark sound of like bells,
mm-hmm.
melodies, and like these big like yeah, these big bell sounds and like
Mm-hmm.
an 808 and just those like trappy drums. And I just thought it was like it was so simple, but it was still
Yeah.
like,
Production just through the roof with that guy for sure.
yeah,
Metro Boom is definitely like he's one of the big ones now.
yeah. And I got to watch him improve too. So,
Yeah, you did. You know, he went on tour by himself. That is crazy. How
yeah,
a
exactly.
producer can go on tour by himself, like just
Yeah,
saying like I made all these songs, whole other rappers not even there. Like I made all these songs. Here you go.
yeah.
Like
Because
it's kind of crazy.
he's done a little bit of DJing. So
Yeah, he
that's
did
how,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
So he'll
and
just
I
DJ
know you
sets and
do.
he'll throw in his songs.
You
Yeah.
do a little bit of DJing too, right?
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
that's where I kind of realized how much uh, music. And I'm sure we're probably gonna get into this later, but like how technical music gets.
yeah,
That's like when I first learned how to DJ, like how much music theory actually matters. Like even when you're DJing in front of like a bunch of people,
hmm
just like transitioning and repetition. Like
hmm.
repetition, the biggest aspect.
You were classically trained, right?
At
You
what?
were at guitar, I mean, and the drums, right?
Yeah, so technically, yeah, I was not self-taught at either one of those things.
So
So I obviously
what would you
learned how to
speak
do
to that?
that.
Yeah, how would you speak to that? Classical versus self-taught. Like how would you say your experience is differed from mine? I think Clay is also self-taught, one of our friends.
I think Clay's a little bit 50-50. Like with guitar, he's like he was took lessons and everything.
Okay.
I mean, as far as things that I am self-taught in music was like a little bit of piano. And I
Yeah.
think playing the guitar first made piano like really, really easy.
Yeah, how
But I
would you compare
realized,
that? How would you compare that for those kids at home that are watching and
yeah,
are struggling with guitar lessons? Because I mean, I took guitar lessons when I was 10. I hated it for the first 2 months and I quit. I had the big one of the biggest regrets I've ever had. But what would you say to those little kids that are like me, like I was?
yeah. I mean, I think it does. You just have to be super, super lucky and obviously grateful to have a good teacher because now obviously it's 2020, so my whole thoughts on an idea of being taught by someone versus seeking that information out yourself it's kind of
Yeah,
completely changed. But as far as back then, it was literally the fact that both those teachers, they weren't totally the same. Obviously, one was much younger than the other, but they both really, really cared and had like a really um, just good way and patient way of going about teaching,
yeah,
like in a very just methodical and slow manner. I mean, my first drum lesson, it was just him with a metronome going like, and I was just learning how to hit the snare drum on 2 and 4, and that was it. Like
mm-hmm,
that's the first drum lesson. And
mm-hmm.
then guitar, it was just learning probably how to hold it and learning how to grip
How
it.
to
So
grip
like,
it? Yeah,
yeah, so that's the problem is that a lot of people kind of just forget how hard it is to start. It's like that's like your 55
yeah,
overall, like my career. Like
yeah,
you got
yeah,
nothing, like
yeah.
no VC, no attributes, nothing. You gotta start absolutely from scratch, and you have to be really patient with it. And obviously, as a little kid, it's hard to actually have that self-awareness of being that patient. So
Yeah. So tell me how that plays into the music theory side. Like how does being trained classically and just like the information that you've gained over the years, how does that play into the music theory side of everything? And
um
this is going to be a heavy topic for those that are
yeah.
listening. This is going to be
I,
a big one to unpack.
so it's really, really, it's just really interesting to me how there's like there's billions of songs that have been released and they have 12 chords to choose from, or not 12 chords, 12 notes. Literally just 12. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you hear is just some kind of variation of those 12 notes. And obviously, if you're working in a key, because you want the music to sound good, it's 7. So it's
Yep.
not even 12. You have 12
Yep.
notes and you choose 7 of them.
Savage Mode 2.
Yeah.
Savage Mode 2.
And you
What
make
was
it
that?
work.
How many notes was that? How many notes did they use in that whole album? How many was it?
Dude, I don't even know. It was probably like 4 or
4?
5.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I have to look it up, but yeah, it's something low like that, which is ridiculous. Keep going.
And
Sorry.
it's good how music offers that much variety from 4 notes. But like you said, I want to answer that question. Like the music theory thing, it took me a while to actually understand. But then I noticed a lot how music is it's all just about the rhythm, harmony, and melody, and what you're doing to repeat, and what you're doing to kind of like bait somebody's ear, like they're almost waiting for something. So like with DJing, because you asked me how music theory tied into that, EDM music is all about waiting for something to happen. It's all about building up for like this drop.
To that drop, yeah.
Yeah. And then usually, like I realized, so I was using DJ Pro, which is a DJ software for the Mac.
Yeah.
And it shows you the BPM and the key. And so that's how I really tied in music theory for that. Like when I was transitioning, I know. So a lot of people listening should probably know about the circle of fifths, which is still super, super complex. And
so complex. I don't even understand it all.
It's still a little hard for me to understand. But like, for example, if a song is playing, like most EDM songs are right around 128 beats per minute, and it's in the key of A, you can probably transition to a song that's in the key of E. Or if one song is in A flat and you're going from A, you're going to want to pitch one of those down or pitch one of those up, and they're going to meet, and you can slow one down and speed one up, and then you're changing all the metering, and that's all that it is. And that's literally just all music is. It's just the math behind it.
It is. It's a lot. Hey, it is. It's a lot of math behind that. Circle of fifths is definitely a concept that I used to have my mind blown when looking up videos about the circle of fifths, and it never truly made sense to me, and it still doesn't truly make sense to me. But like knowing that is part of the music and the theory of it is it's mind blowing.
Yeah, and I think being proficient at an instrument, especially now getting into music production, because we know we're in kind of like the beat making era. If you look at the Billboard Top 100, like at least the first 25, there's going to be probably 15 or 20 that's just straight trap beats from a beat maker who might be using FL Studio to create a guitar melody. He's not playing the guitar. He doesn't know anything about the guitar, but he's listened to music for so long that he knows what sounds good and what doesn't.
Yeah, we are definitely in the age of like either we go hire somebody to make a guitar melody or we build one ourselves, but we don't know how to play guitar. I mean, obviously you do, but we're in that era right now. And I definitely, I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Like I enjoy knowing how to play different instruments, and like I enjoy that, but like you don't really have to.
There's a lot of pros and cons because a lot of, I mean, we've seen when it's time to like release an album, and I think the word album gets overused a lot. Because I think mixtapes that word should kind of come back now a lot more. Yeah. Like, I'm going to throw some shade. I don't really care. But Migos, for example, when they drop Culture 2, like Culture 2 is not really an album. It's more of a mixtape. Like if you can play an album on shuffle and it doesn't really matter, then how good is that as like one cohesive piece of music,
I definitely think that's a hip hop problem too. Like 20-track albums are not albums.
Yeah, and now some like obviously we saw with Savage Mode 2, there's some amazing transitions.
Yeah,
you don't want to listen to that album on shuffle, and so good for him. I think
that's an album.
Yeah, that's for sure an album. Yeah.
But like I think Lil Baby's last project had like 22 tracks.
Yeah, it's probably 22, 23. 22 Lil Yachty's last one had 24.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. It's a little crazy. I definitely think that is a problem. I think that when you give somebody something to listen to, I think that it should be your best work. I know for a fact that you didn't make 22 great songs in a year. So like the best example I can give was Daytona in 2018. Seven tracks, all of them hit, every single one of them. Like I know the words to every single one of them. And I mean, obviously, again, like we said with Alec, we like Kanye's musical side and not his other side, but he produced that one. He produced Ye and Kids See Ghost, and then the Tiana Taylor song,
Hmm.
or Tiana Taylor album, all 7
Yeah.
tracks, all bangers. You
Yeah.
know, like it's just it's hard to listen to 22 tracks at once and to listen to them thoroughly and be like, oh, these are all good. And
Yeah. And
that's
it's
just not.
also it's tough when they get so repetitive.
It gets
You're like,
so
oh, geez,
repetitive.
when is
Yeah.
something new gonna happen? And I think that's the thing. I mean, we can go on about producers with that, but I think the rappers themselves ultimately they're like that highest power choice if they
Yeah.
want to do that. And
Yeah.
so
They're
I think
definitely the executive branch
yeah, and I think there's a
of
lot of
for sure.
opportunity when up and coming rappers have the opportunity to go from rapper to artist because I feel like those are definitely just two
Mm-hmm.
different words.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I think of like Astroworld, that's one of the first things that made me say Travis Scott is an artist that is not a rapper. Because
Yeah.
if you look, I mean, he never told anyone any features. Like
Mm-hmm.
you just heard them, and it's like
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy because I mean he got people on there that you just would never expect. And
yeah,
like
some people
that's the
yeah
true artistry that comes through. Like Tame Impala on
yeah
Skeletons, I
producing
think.
that yeah.
Yeah,
And then the
that's
weekend was on that, and then the weekend followed it up on the
mm-hmm.
next one. Frank Ocean was on the second one. Sway Lee
Yep.
had like 2 lines in Sicko Mode,
Yep.
and then obviously when Drake came on that no one was expecting it, he made a hit.
Yeah. I think there's also one other one. I can't remember. Is an old. Let me actually just look it up. Astro World. It was either oh, Stop Trying to Be God. And it was, I remember now, Stop Trying to Be God. Who did he feature on that? I gotta look it up on here. Stevie Wonder. Stevie freaking Wonder. And I
Yeah.
was
Oh my
like, are
goodness.
you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
So yeah,
Crazy.
you look at the music production side of that, and there's a documentary, uh, Look Mama I Can Fly on Netflix,
Yeah, that was crazy.
and I remember there was
Yo, hold on. Did you know that Cuddy was on that track?
I think so yeah.
Yeah, Cuddy's on that track. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
What did he do?
Yeah, exactly. Probably.
Yeah,
Um,
yes. That, Look Mama I Can Fly was amazing, dude.
yeah,
That
and
was
I remember my
amazing.
favorite part of that, and it was like the most relatable part. And I was like, oh my god, people even at the top do this. He was in the house, and now obviously it's Travis Scott, so it's a very nice house,
Yeah.
but it's him and Mike Dean and like 2 other guys, and they're like listening to it in the studio, and then there's a camera that cuts, and they're walking outside with his phone, going into the car,
Oh,
and he
yep,
pulls
yep,
out one of the
yep.
and he pulls out one of the bounces, and he's listening to it in the car. And he's like, okay, and that's
Yeah, I
like,
remember. That's crazy.
yeah, and that's
I mean,
when
we
I
did that
realized, like,
for a weeks at a time. We would just
yeah,
be going back and forth from the car to the studio. Like
yeah.
that's wow. Yeah,
It's just
I
such a
didn't really
like
think about
raw and
that until now.
authentic like way
Yeah,
of
it
doing it.
is.
It's funny how people even at the top like that's the secret. It's just you
Yeah,
listen to it on different platforms and different like mediums until you find like a one good sound that's good across all of them. And I think
yeah, man.
with him, for him to be doing that and kind of like leading it, that's to me like what defines him as an artist. So
Yeah, man. I just, music is in a weird place. Like, I think that I don't know why, but especially in the school system, like they're not pushing music as like a top priority.
yeah,
Like, and I don't really understand that. There's like a lot of gripes I have with the school system, but
yeah, yeah.
I definitely think that that is one of them.
Well,
You know?
as far as music, now obviously we're extremely lucky to have gone to a private school where at least there were some issues with how well it was being pushed, but the funding was just through the roof.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was.
yeah, we had a ton of opportunity to do it ourselves, but that's the problem. Someone under the age of 18 is not going to want to do that themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone under 18 is going to just immediately have that love. Just like not
Yeah,
everyone, if they're like 5 years old and they pick up a big basketball and they're trying to shoot on a 10-foot hoop, they're not going to make it.
yeah,
But like they know better not to quit, and somebody knows better to tell them not to quit. And so I
yeah,
feel like that has to be there in music because
yeah. I mean, a lot of
there's
schools are just cutting programs like
yeah,
completely.
exactly, yeah.
Like that's crazy to me.
And I think from a future preparation standpoint, that idea, I can see where they're coming from with that because they just believe like, oh, it's very hard for child to use this as a resource in the future. But
Yeah.
that's where there has to be a shift
Yeah.
to what is music doing right now, not what is music doing in 1700. We know classical music is
Yeah, I
incredible.
agree.
We can
I agree.
study it as much as we want. It's very cool. It's like science fiction or
Yeah.
just real science. Like you can study the universe, you can study all that stuff, and you don't have to apply it. You can just appreciate it.
Yeah,
But
I think
as far
I
as
definitely
doing something
agree
that
with that.
applies, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
go ahead.
like specifically uh the piano and the guitar and the drums. Like
Yeah.
we need to see all three of those. If we're trying to, if the school wants to try and find like a like really specific solution, it's those three. Because when you look at how much like the music industry has grown from like 1950 to like 2020, all three of those instruments are all just like, yeah, like we made it.
Yeah,
Like no
they're
matter
everywhere.
how much no matter how much music has changed, you've seen some variation of those three instruments all the time. And you might not
Mhm.
hear a violin, you might not hear a tuba, or some accessory instrument in an ensemble.
Yeah.
Now obviously ensemble carries a lot of significance in music scores, but I mean that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I definitely think that. I think, you know, and it really sucks, but like, because the reason why they're cutting the programs is because they don't have enough money. But the reason
Yeah,
also why is because the students don't want to take it as well, and that's where that problem that you were talking about comes in, where
yeah,
like they don't care about the classic music. They don't care. They don't care about things that Beethoven did. Which
yeah,
I mean,
exactly, yeah,
obviously, if you're a music nerd, like I mean, me, you, Clay, all the no clue. If you're a music nerd, you're gonna know that stuff.
yeah,
But you're gonna look that up on your own. Like you're
yeah,
gonna go
exactly,
find that. You're
yeah.
gonna go seek that out. You're gonna go seek out those samples and things like
Yeah,
that.
and at the end of the day, I mean, it's entertainment. Like when you kind of compare sports to music at the professional
Mm,
level, they are both just pieces of entertainment, professional entertainment.
yeah,
So it's just someone who's mastered their craft and is now doing so good that they're able to bring in people to come and watch them. So that's where the money comes from at the professional level. But in music, if you're doing all that stuff and you're putting people to sleep in the audience,
yeah,
they're not entertained. Oh, dude, like
yeah,
I mean, like watching a football game on a Friday night, I'm not gonna be put to sleep watching you lay your shoulder into someone. Like
yeah.
it's the same exact thing. If I want to if I want to go and see a concert and appreciate music from like my peers who are 14, 15, 16,
Hmm.
I want to be entertained and I want to see them having fun and seeing them enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like it's definitely. I wish that there would be changes made, but you know, I'm not the
Yeah,
head of school or head of anything like that.
yeah.
So,
I think at the end
um,
of the day, it can start with that. It's just making that shift. It's obviously hard, but if schools just made this big change towards music production and music performance and doing things that are more applicable now and
yeah.
things that people want to hear, I think students will actually get that, appreciation.
And you know what though? You know what side of music that has always been great and students have always loved to be in it? The marching band. We never had a marching band at NA, but like if
Yeah,
you ever go and watch colleges or go and watch high school,
yeah,
even high
exactly.
school games, they're
Yeah,
like they're into it. Like they're amazing and into it.
yeah,
I was at an NSU game, Norfolk State, they're HBCU. Their marching band was ridiculous. They were
yeah.
amazing. Shout out NSU. They were crazy good. I'll have to link a video or something in the description. Like
Hmm.
it was amazing.
Yeah, that's true, and that's such an important part. It's an important
Yeah,
piece
but yeah,
of college culture, like college game day culture, is a
yeah.
huge marching band. You hear these anthems that they play, and everyone
Anthems,
recognizes them.
even songs now they played. Like
Yeah, exactly.
they'll play like hype songs now, and like that's really where those kids wanted to they want to be in the marching band. They want to do music in that
Yeah,
sense.
and I think it's like a symbiotic thing almost. Like if I know I'm gonna
Hmm.
perform, and nobody's gonna say like after the performance like, oh, that was awesome or incredible. Like even when football, when you get blown out, I mean, there's people who be like, "Yeah, you put up a really good fight, you made a lot of good plays." You still get that appreciation as a kid, but if
Yeah,
you're walking up there and you're playing something like I said that's putting everyone to sleep and no one's amused, and you don't get any appreciation for what you just did, you're gonna want to quit.
yeah. You're not going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're in a marching band, but the school puts enough emphasis on the fact that you have to appreciate students who are doing that, then it's kind of like this cycle, and I think that's when it starts
Mhm.
to work.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure. So, is there anything that you want to tell the audience that you're up to now? I know you just did some drums over a song yeah, it was just a
Yeah.
song, right? Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
there's another band here, like within my fraternity, called Chimpanzees and Cigarettes.
Yeah.
So it's an alternative and like jam band.
Yeah.
Um, we actually have two gigs coming up. One like
Oh,
really really small,
there you
and
go.
then one at like a brewery. But
Yeah.
it's six of us right now, and so we spent some time working on that single.
Hmm.
And then there's like a couple more new songs coming out, and then obviously No Clue has hopefully album dropping pretty soon within the next couple
Yeah.
months.
The next couple months, that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, like that's it, branching out into different genres too is crazy. Where do you see your artistry going? Like just in general. Give me
I don't know.
a broad brush. Where do you see yourself going in music?
Well, I think it would definitely be in the production side
Yeah.
where I have some kind of strong creative voice. So like I'm not just working for a band trying to like mix their song or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more of like I do want to establish myself in a group of artists and
Mm-hmm.
then also be able to have a creative voice in,
Yeah.
two groups because I'm, both these groups are doing super well right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. How
yeah, I would
how
say
are
that's
they
probably
doing?
the
How what are their numbers looking like? Just out of curiosity.
So the first song is at around 1,300 streams on
Mm-hmm.
Spotify and around like 200 I think on Apple Music.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty good for like the very first song, and I
Yeah,
think
that is
it's
really
it's
good.
getting really really good support from everyone else here. I
Yeah,
think
that's really good.
being together out of college is definitely helpful as far as
Yeah.
growing an audience.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Mm.
For sure. So how like just how far do you want to take it in general? Like where do you want to where do you want to see yourself, I guess? Like not necessarily your artistry, but where you want to be. Like how high up do you want to take this? I mean, you're an independent artist right now, unsigned, like
Yeah.
just take me through that. Like what's the what
Well, I think I definitely have to say I'm not sure right now,
yeah. Yeah.
but I know kind of the way that I've kind of conditioned myself to think is like nothing's actually going to happen unless something just gets done today. So it's just you just keep being consistent and keep improving and seek opportunities and take a couple risks.
Yeah.
Don't be too afraid to release a song. That's kind of the things that I've told myself now that's allowed me to definitely improve a lot
Yeah,
more.
for sure. Like that's some piece of advice for everyone. Like release the music, make the
Yeah,
art, make the thing you want to do because you only have one chance to do it, especially when you have this inspiration. Like do it when you want to do it. Don't wait around for you to think that you have to get this and that in order to do something. Like no you don't. You don't have to spend that much money. Just do it.
yeah, no, yeah. I mean,
Literally
obviously,
just
in
do it.
2020, yeah, there's so many good resources to figure out how to do different things now, and I
Mhm.
think like kind of like what I tied into earlier that I've also taken as really good advice is just own that 55 overall.
Yep.
Just own the fact that you're starting. Like,
Yep.
be happy with that day one and like almost own up to it. Don't be
Mhm.
ashamed that it's not going to be the best thing because obviously what we put out the very first time was not going to be the best thing. There's obviously
Yeah.
much better things to come, but you have to just get that over with. I think that's probably the best advice.
Yeah, man. Anything on your mind? Anything you want to get out?
No, I
Just
mean, if you got any other questions for me,
Nah, I'm all out of questions. This is a great conversation.
yeah,
Most of that talk was not structured at all.
yeah. I mean, it's whatever. Yeah, just
Yeah,
having a
yeah, for
conversation.
sure.
So,
Yeah, that was fun, dude. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening to Behind the Artist. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Come on, I'm 22 grand. I stay drippy on fam. You losing my mind. You come in my mind. You don't like what you'll find. Getting real. I used to spark your seal. That's how I know you feel. I flood your wrist. That's Richard Mill. Ducking the ops. That's Navy SEALs.